Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TGIF Business Networking Hangout. I'm your host, Melanie MacDonald, Brand Identity and Outreach Strategy Consultant. Today is a very special episode. It is Open Business Networking. So if you are seeing this and you'd like to join us, just go into the event listing there. The link is in the comments. Press that link and come on inside. Everybody is welcome. Let me tell you how I got started with these open networking mixers. I was doing them, I've been doing this Hangout, the TGIF Business Networking Hangout, pretty much since Hangouts were available, before there were even Hangouts on air. And I started doing these and finding out that, you know what, people don't really want to book themselves to be a guest on anything and make any plans on a Hangout around the Christmas holidays at the end of the year. So I started doing a year-end open networking mixer. Well, last year at the year-end open networking mixer, everybody had such a good time and said, please do these more often, please do these more often. So ask and you shall receive. I am that kind of a host, folks. If there's something you want to see, any person that you think is really great, would be a great guest, just let me know, and I will do my best to fulfill your wildest Hangout wishes. Well, maybe not the wildest ones, the business-related ones. So we've got a few wonderful guests down here in the peanut gallery. I'm going to let you all introduce yourself. Annie, you're first in my row. Are you ready to go first?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. There you go.
Hi, I'm Annie Chalakian, owner of Silver Moon Bay, patient wear that cares. I make hospital gowns and other accessories for patient wear, such as this foot protector.
We'll hold it up a little higher.
I'm wearing it, so I'll just, I don't know. The screen's the wrong shape for me to wear it and show it, so I will hold it up. An adult bib is what it is.
Oh, awesome.
And so if you, well, I just wear it all the time anyway. I wear it to go to the drive-thru or put my makeup on or brush my teeth or whatever so I don't get toothpaste on myself. But it's perfect for somebody who's in a nursing home or in a hospital or some kind of situation where they might get food on themselves. And then I also do bed jackets and planning on adding some other types of organic healing creams and things also on my site. But right now I have the gowns and I have the food protectors and the bed jackets, and my web address is www.silvermoonbay.com.
Awesome, Annie. Thanks for showing this and bringing your product with you to give us a little glimpse of it. Those are great. I should eat those every time I have spaghetti. John, you're next. Are you ready?
I've been at a networking event for the last 3 hours. I'm more than ready.
Wow.
I have sensory overload right now.
Oh, well, thank you for coming in anyway.
Oh, not a problem. I wouldn't miss this for the world. If I'm available, I always try to get here because these are one of the better hangouts. Okay.
Oh, so, thank you.
And most of what I try to do on my hangouts, I pattern after you and Jim Fierce and Kerry Roldan. So, you know, you always, company. Yeah, you can always, you know, I mean, if you're not learning from somebody else, then you're just sitting there stagnating, and the next thing you know, you're not enjoying what you're doing. So, at any rate, I'm John Jerkowitz. I am the owner of Jerkowitz Consulting Services. I work with small business owners, solopreneurs, and entrepreneurs who are looking to make themselves successful in the world today. I have two target groups. You can tell I've been at a networking event. I have two target groups that I work with: boomers and millennials. And the reason for boomers is that we're going to be working till the day we die, most of us. Yeah, sorry, Melanie. There's a large percentage of boomers who got wiped out in 2008. I have a handful of friends that were looking to retire in the next 2 to 3 years and can't. I have target groups. You can tell I've been at a
Oh, where's that coming from?
I have two target groups that I work with: boomers.
Oh, there we go. I think that was
Okay.
Annie.
And because of that, millennials aren't going anywhere. The ceiling dropped about 35 feet. They've got debt to repay, mostly from college, and they were kind of hoping by the time they reached the 40 plateau that they would be in a prime earning spot, and a lot of them are finding out they're not. 87% of all new entrepreneurs are female today, and here I am, the only guy in a film strip of female. Because of that, millennials aren't going anywhere.
Hi, Annie. I'm going to keep you muted because we're getting feedback from you. Till you're ready to talk.
Mostly from college.
Okay, Annie. There, you're muted now. So.
All right. One of the things that I found out, and unfortunately the world hasn't changed as much as we thought it has, but I like to use the comparison of a man taking his car to the garage and saying there's a squeak, and they'll say, oh, it's $50 and we'll have it fixed, and a female taking a car to the garage and them saying, oh my gosh, you got to spend $2,500. We've got to do all kinds of stuff. And I am running across more and more female entrepreneurs who are being sold the bill of goods, so to speak, simply because the people selling don't take them seriously. Right? And that's sad, and I don't agree with it, but sometimes it is what it is. And so part of what I do, too, is my client base is becoming more and more female, between 25 and 50. Looking to start their own businesses. What I try to help them do is what they need, not necessarily what they want, because if we get what we want, we generally go broke. Okay, so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Wow, that's great, John. I love your examples that you give, and food for thought with the millennials and the challenges that they're facing, which is kind of that trickle-down effect from what the boomers are facing. And
average
I really wanted to retire and, you know, be on the beach and have the cabana boy helping me with the suntan lotion, but now I found out I'm going to have to work forever.
Well, no, that might work out okay. The cabana boy's a millennial. He'll still have to have a part-time job, so maybe on weekends you could sit on the beach and let him rub suntan.
Yeah. Sounds good. Plan A. Okay. Next we have Kathy. Kathy, are you ready? Go ahead and unmute yourself, please, and give an introduction.
I'm Kathy Brown of Brown Nose Social Media. I'm a social media consultant specializing in healthcare communications. I'm an early adopter of Google+, and I have communities, and I used to have my own Hangout show, and you're doing a wonderful job, Meilani. And it's a pleasure to be a part of this one and be among so many friendly people, and this is such a great idea for networking. I said I specialize in healthcare communications. I'm really kind of ahead of the game right now, so I've taken a hiatus. I specialize in population health and communication and management of patients and groups and all of the things that are not really incentivized yet because of fee-for-service. So I'm just waiting out there until healthcare is ready to take the next step.
So last when I saw you and you were doing your show, before you stopped doing it, I think you were coming up with, hey, you were making posts like, I'm looking for what's going on out there, I need something a little more to do. Did you find that, and that's what's kept you away from us?
I've been concentrating my social media skills on partly with my older clients that were non-healthcare. I do some listening in the healthcare space, and I do a lot with charity right now. I've decided to just put my efforts into helping some of the nonprofits that aren't necessarily healthcare related, and at the same time trying to keep a thumb on the healthcare space and meaningful use and all of the things that are going to slowly shape healthcare to get where other businesses are. And I found that working with nonprofits in general is a great way for me to learn some of the stumbling blocks that aren't necessarily healthcare related but nonprofit related.
Okay. I love working with nonprofits too, and it's always so gratifying also because you feel like, oh, I'm doing something good and giving back to the community too. And sometimes I don't get the same feeling when working with just like a regular business that's out there for profit just to do their thing. That's always gratifying too, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same necessarily serving the community feeling that you get sometimes and giving back feeling.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And our next guest is Roxanne Davenport, and she knows about that whole giving back to the community thing a whole lot, don't you, Roxanne?
I do.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yours.
Yes, I was working with a doctor's office that was nonprofit, and we had 2 restaurants that would give part of the portion that they brought in that night for the office, and then we had also November, which is Epilepsy Awareness Month. We had a bike ride, that motorcycle bike ride that we brought in the most money with that one. Everybody that likes to ride motorcycles, they always get together.
It's a club, not a gang.
That's right. So we brought in a lot of money for that one, and then one street, Main Street down Winston-Salem, they blocked it off and had a parade for us, and all the restaurants down that road shared a portion of their profit that night.
Now you're saying we and us. What is the organization?
Well, that one, I had to leave that one because the guy that took care of all the money then left to go back to school to be a lawyer. So, well, after that happened, that's when I started my own.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. So what
now,
is your organization now? And put your lower third on when you remember.
I kept trying and it won't come on.
Okay.
So I'm very sorry. It's called Seizure the Day. And C's is in quotes, and then URE, Seizure the Day. And that's what mine's called. So after he left, I had to just start my own, because everyone I went to, they wouldn't allow me in. So, I mean, not allow me, that I had all these people that wanted to raise money, but they said, oh, we already have places that would raise money for us. These in quotes, and then URE, Seizure of the Day. So that didn't help. So I said, well, I guess I have to do it myself. So that's what made me start my own nonprofit. Everybody.
I have a question I want to ask you about that, but before we do that, let's try to give Annie a little help here. She's getting some feedback on her volume. So Annie, look and see if you have the event page open in another window besides the Hangout window, because if you do and that video is running, that could be where the extra sound is coming from. Thank you for pointing that out, Kathy. So we have such a helpful bunch here. We've got 3 people who, oops, we lost Annie. Hopefully she comes back. 3 people here who are very experienced in Hangouts. So Roxanne, I want to go back to you for a minute. How did you start your own organization? I mean, what does one do if they want to start some sort of a nonprofit? And what are the things that they need to consider, and what are the, what's the red tape that they have to go through to create one?
Well, first, I came over to Google Plus because I got, a lot more people when I started the community that I got a lot more information from to be able to learn more about it after the person that I was helping left. So a lot of people helped me. Talking to lawyers here, they told me about looking for the tax ID, starting the difference between the 501(c) and the 403B. There's 2 different types, so having to read a lot into that. You can take a whole year while you're waiting for your paperwork and start raising money. I was like, oh, wonderful. Because of all the paperwork you have to fill out, that you can still be raising money.
Now, when you're raising money, do you still get to say that you're raising it for a nonprofit organization even though the paperwork isn't dry yet?
Yes, I have to have them sign it. I have to have it typed up and, real pretty. And they actually give you something to look over and make sure you're doing it correctly.
Oh,
online,
that's cool.
Which is, yes, it's great.
And Kathy and John, do either of you consult with people who are going through the process to form a nonprofit? Is that part of what you do, Kathy?
I haven't consulted with people getting into a nonprofit. I have been a part of a nonprofit startup, Airline Passenger Bill of Rights, and we went through that, applying for the right tax-exempt status and understanding what all the little letters and numbers mean and what you can tell people. And in our case, we were also out there before we had gotten the tax-exempt status and had to say that it was pending, but until it went through, it was not technically tax-exempt, so people had to know that until it got to that point.
Yeah, there's another one you have to file, which is a 990. That's the paperwork you fill out. Something like, is it 990 something?
I don't
or
remember.
991. One of those other numbers that you fill out before you get 503C/B.
And where are these coming from? Is this from the IRS? Is this your state?
The state.
State?
The state IRS.
Okay, so, but it's pretty much probably similar state to state process, right? Or
some,
I guess you
yes.
wouldn't really know because you're doing it in your own state.
Well, I've asked other people, but it's good to just check on your own. Check the website of the county. I was going to say Forsyth County. That's the one I live in, but in the county you are in, and then the state.
And then go from there. Okay, that sounds like good. Start at the lower end and work the way up. John, let me ask you, do you do any consulting with nonprofits as your clients? You said you're mostly with business people.
Yeah, usually what I end up doing is telling people, I don't think that's a not-for-profit, okay? And then I'll direct them towards somebody. To me at least, from my experience, that's a real specialty niche. You have to stay up on all the federal regulations, and there's some state and municipalities that have regulations. It is almost a full-time job. I know somebody that does, and she's very successful at doing it. She's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and she literally works 12 hours a day, and I will usually, if somebody gets to the point where they're saying, I want to do this, I will refer them.
Awesome. That's great. I'm going to go off on another little tangent here that has to do with nonprofits, and that is, well, it's not necessarily nonprofit, but generally speaking, as a business person or a solopreneur or someone in business, I highly encourage anybody out there in business to volunteer for some cause and some organization that they believe in and to give back to the community. And it's good because you're doing something good and you're giving back, but also, you know what? Karma works. When you're giving back, people appreciate it. It builds goodwill in the community. It helps to create a brand identity for your business that is friendly in the community, that is community-oriented, and people like to do business with businesses that they see giving back to the community. And there's a lot of great examples of this. So, you have to be careful, though, because one of the things that starts to happen sometimes is if an organization sees that you are doing a lot of work for an organization and you're helping them out free, as a business move. For example, I do graphic design work, and so I do provide some free graphic design work for some organizations out there. And a couple of other organizations started asking me if I could do free work for them as well. And I had to get to the point where I was saying, well, no, because I can only do so much free work before I don't have any time left to do work that's going to pay the bills. And you have to kind of pick and choose. So pick something that's really close to your heart, that you really believe in, that you feel good about doing. But what happens is other nonprofits, other businesses in the area, the community in general sees your work. They see, because nonprofits are all about doing outreach and getting their message out. So if you're helping them to do something, the word gets out there in the community, and there's sort of a great example of your work that the community can look at. I ended up getting new clients based on the work that I was doing on a volunteer basis. Would anybody down there like to comment on that?
Well, I'd like to comment on the fact that Kathy and I just found out we lived about 35 miles from one another up until 2008.
Oh.
Sorry, there's a sideline conversation going on that the audience can't see, but we're like bonding over our location. But I will bring it back to topic, and I'd like to comment on that, Milani, because you and I talked off camera that we both have a passion to work with charities, and that's what I've spent a lot of my time doing. Every year I pick a different nonprofit and I give them my service. I don't do it for a lot at the same time because, like you said, you can't give all your stuff away for free, but I pick one, and in my case, it's my social media and communication skills, and I also have a strong background in fundraising, so it's a nice combination to be able to give my expertise in that as well as the communication. But I would urge any business, that any entrepreneur who wants to become established, to at a very minimum consider giving back to your local business community, to either support other businesses, so there's a camaraderie, there's a constant exposure, Chamber of Commerce, really promoting your local community like you love it, because when you support your community services, the people and the other businesses, they're going to do the same with you in return. Like you said, karma or whatever you want to call it, it's rewarding in both respects, and I think it's a great investment of time, and it's a lot cheaper than advertising.
You know, you are absolutely correct. I'm glad you brought that up about giving back to the business community. And you can do this. It's also smart marketing. If you're doing some public speaking gigs, for example, there's an organization out here in the Coachella Valley called the Coachella Valley Women's Business Center. And they are a nonprofit organization, and they provide workshops to up-and-coming business women who are out there getting ready to start their own businesses or have started their own businesses. And I periodically go and speak for them. I did a presentation on brand identity the other night. I don't get paid for this. This is volunteering my time to give back to that business community, but what did it do? It put me in front of a room of 20 people who are potential clients, because they are people who are starting their businesses, and my business consulting services, graphic design stuff, outreach strategy stuff, marketing stuff, brand identity building stuff, all those workshops that I do are perfect workshops for the people in that audience, all stuff that they could use. So in giving back to the community, I'm also marketing my own services and myself as a business consultant for them. So I left with giving out a whole stack of business cards and a great new list of contacts, and a bunch more people for my email list. And it's a win-win-win situation. Now I see we have somebody. Oh, that's Brian. And hi Brian. And I don't know who that is with Brian, but hello. We'll give them a few minutes to put up their background and stuff. Annie, why don't you come back on for a minute and unmute yourself, and let's see if we're still getting that echo. Hi there. Okay, you are unmuted. Oh, and I don't hear an echo now, so great. Did that fix it for you? Was the video?
Hi.
Hi.
So see, you learned some interesting tips and tricks too. If you're getting an echo and hearing the video twice and you're in a Hangout, it may be that the event window is open in another window and the video is running. And you can check your other windows and look for that, turn it off, and that will solve your problem. I think Brian, and Brian, give us an introduction and tell us who is this lovely girl with you? Yes, you're turning it on.
Okay, we're here now. Introduce yourself. This is Andrea.
Hi, nice
Hi,
to meet
Andrea.
you. I'm Andrea. I'm from Pacific Premier Bank. I'm a business banker, so I take care of people's lines of credits, commercial real estate, depository needs, cash management.
Awesome. Wow, you get your personal banker to come over to your office.
Well, that's how we do business, personally.
Yay.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
And you know what I'd like to point out here is that one of the things I love about being out in the Coachella Valley, as opposed to a big city like Los Angeles is New York, look at Brian's shirt. Got this beautiful Hawaiian shirt, and that is actually very standard business attire in Palm Springs.
It's true.
Yay. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Brian. Let us know what you do.
Okay, I'm Brian Rowley, mousehelp at roselle.com, and what I do is I help people with websites and content, which means potentially articles you might write that would be used on your blogs and could be put on social media that would have links back to your website to help you get more traffic to your website, because I always say you can have the best website in the world, but if nobody knows it's there, it's like that tree that fell in the forest. Who knows?
And Brian, you recently helped me with my website. We went to a new theme that was a lot more current and modern than the old one. By any chance, did you take any screenshots of the old one before we changed it?
I still have some of that because I recall doing it as a preliminary before I got started to see what we wanted, things we wanted to change. So I'll have to dig that up for you and see.
Yeah, please open that. I want to show a before and after.
Okay.
So when you get that open, share your screen, and we'll go to that, and then I'll share my screen and show the after, and kind of show off what you did. I'm real happy with it.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm sitting here and I'm reading the chat box, and Kathy and Roxanne and John are all having this great little conversation. So if any of you out there are new to Hangouts, one of the things that happens when you come inside a Hangout is there is a chat box that all the participants inside a Hangout can see. It doesn't show it to the audience. And this is what business networking is all about, making connections and starting, new relationships. And I love that in this Hangout we have people doing that, using the chat box, having a conversation on the side. They're all savvy enough not to let it detract from the conversation in the Hangout. But I'm seeing some good networking going on here. John, yes, savvy. I'm talking to you. Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
I wanted to follow up on what both you and Kathy were talking about, using volunteer work as a good platform for marketing. It's free. At the networking event I was at this morning, my main thrust and focus was I am available to talk to not-for-profit groups, professional groups, specifically in a number of different areas, and I do that pro bono. And I had 3 or 4 people come up to me afterwards and say, we'd like you to come in June or July or August, and it gives you a real good opportunity. The only thing I caution people about this, and I learned this early on as a consultant, when you go to share, don't go to sell. Share what you want to share, and if people want to buy, they'll get in touch with you. But people get turned off real quick when you come in there with a message and then there's a hook attached to the end of that message. So, but I think it's an excellent way, especially for those people in your audience, Melanie, that are starting out as entrepreneurs. That they don't have a lot of resources. They haven't built up a lot of revenue yet. Public libraries are a great place to do stuff like that. I know here in Kentucky, we have some banks that their charter says they have to let you use their meeting room on Saturdays for free if you are a local service group. And so you can turn that into a potential revenue stream.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. You have lots of good advice.
Well, thank you,
I
ma'am.
gotta say that. I'm so glad that I'm working with you on a project that we're working on together.
See, there's a teaser.
Yeah, little teaser right
teaser.
there.
Project that we're working on together. Don't worry, we're not going to blow up the world. Okay.
No, we're not. You'd be the brain and I'd be Pinky. What are we doing today?
Okay.
I wanted to also let the audience know if anybody out there is watching and anything that we're talking about in here is intriguing to you. If you have any questions for any of the guests, please go ahead and post it in the event page and we will get those questions answered. I am watching them. I'm using a wonderful little app called Comment Tracker that is available inside a Hangout. Inside a Hangout interface, you have a lot of apps available to you. For example, the chat box that I was telling you about a little bit ago. We also have the Comment Tracker, and that brings the people's questions that they're posting in the event page into a list inside the Hangout. So I can actually get the questions brought to me without having to watch the event page. Now, often we watch the event page too, just in case anything is missed, because you just want to do that. There's another little nifty thing called Hangout Toolbox, and it gives you something called Hangout Lower Third, and you can see that, which is this nice little thing on our screen that gives us an opportunity to put our website, our name. Now, mine's a custom overlay. That means that I created my own overlay graphic and uploaded it, but you can look at Kathy's. Yours is the built-in one. No, yours is custom too, isn't it?
Mine's custom.
Yours is Brian's is built-in. There we go. Brian's using the built-in one, and so is Annie. So it provides you a place to put your logo, and if you don't want to use your logo, you can put your profile picture there, and you can put your name in there, and there's actually a second line that it gives you. You can see Brian use it for his website. So Hangouts are awesome. And if anybody is interested in learning about Hangouts or just dipping their toes in the water, TGIF is newbie friendly. Come on in and check it out. It's a great place to practice being on camera. It's a great place to practice your 30-second elevator speech because it's actually recorded and you get to watch it back. And Brian, who is a fellow Toastmaster member out here in the Palm Springs area with me, knows the value of recording yourself and watching it back. Though I have to admit, and Kathy, I'm wondering if you feel this way, and John too, and Roxanne, and Annie, because all of you have been on here, when I first started doing these Hangouts, it took me like a year before I could actually watch myself back without going, ah, what am I doing? Ah. You know, it's a little intimidating, but that's why it's good to come into sort of a casual, friendly show as just a guest and participant to get used to it a little bit before you go live. And Kathy, I saw you laughing, so I'm going to ask you to share.
Well, yeah, actually, I have a couple secrets to share. Before I started doing regular Hangouts, I spent about a year recording myself on video and then watching it back so I could get over all of the little ums and uhs and glitches and, you know, some of the things that if you've never done this, if somebody decides they want to start doing these live videos, you have to think about the fact that are you going to see yourself in a mirror image? Because if you try to move your hair away and you're looking at your reflection, you look like you're doing this.
Yeah.
Or never itch your nose when you're talking because you'll remember that for the rest of your life. So I got over a lot of the little things, but what I discovered was I was very comfortable on camera for a while because I got over that and then I started doing Hangouts. And I realized near the end of my about a 3-year Hangout stint, I guess 2.5 years. So near the end, I went back and I was playing a video, and normally I don't have a problem seeing myself. And I realized that since I've gotten new contacts, they've been irritating my eyes. And I started having this habit of I'm doing this the whole time I'm talking. And I thought, oh no, how long have I been doing that? So we never give the forgiveness to ourselves that we give to other people on camera, I think.
I think you're right. That's true. We're always harder on ourselves than on anybody else. So give yourself a break, and you know, sometimes you kind of just have to laugh with it and go with it. And I'm going to share my screen for a minute. because John shared this wonderful little graphic this morning, and then I shared it because it was so great. One bad chapter doesn't mean your story's over. So if you're in your Hangout and you're seeing you're doing everything wrong, that's okay. You have the next Hangout and the next Hangout and the next one and the next one, and practice and do it over again. I love that you found this, John. And John, you know, one of the things that has been working really well for you is that you do little inspirational Hangouts, and you do these short, like 5-minute ones on Mondays.
Yeah, and you know, I just want to echo a lot of what Kathy said. I think it's practice, practice, practice. And it's like anything else. If you want to be good at something, you're going to practice. Kathy, I did the same thing and continue to do that you did, where I'll just start a private video and record it and watch myself. And the ums, the ahs, the gestures and everything else, stuff like that. I will tell you, though, I still have a hard time watching my recorded Hangouts. I sit back and I go, oh my gosh, you said that, or oh my gosh, you did that. And I have a hard time watching them. But I think the more you practice, that's why I do the Monday motivation thing. It gives me two things. It gives me the opportunity to be in front of a camera, and I've never met one I don't like. And it gives me an opportunity to take a message and package it into 3 minutes. When you're starting your week out, regardless of where you are, you don't have 4 or 5 hours or even a half hour to listen to somebody go on. So it's a real challenge to take a 3 to 5 minute, just a little dose of inspiration and give it to people. It helps you build your audience too. My Career Corner Hangout that I do every Thursday, except this Thursday because my guest bombed out on me, I am cutting to a half hour when I just do one guest. I've been doing them for 50 minutes, and I'm finding that probably after about 35 to 40, it starts to get like, okay, well, what do you want to talk about now, sort of thing. So, you know, I also think, Melanie, you did note that people have to use the format they're comfortable with, okay? It attracts a certain audience to you. You're very participatory in how you do things, but at the same time, you have an iron fist inside a velvet glove that you keep things moving along.
Keep things moving along, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And I like that iron fist inside a, what'd you say, velvet glove? But I want to know a little bit more about, you said that it helps build your audience. Tell us a little bit more about the marketing value of doing these little sweet inspirations. Do you find you get a lot more people watching because it's so short, and because most of the Hangouts out there are 30 minutes to an hour long? And here's one, you know, there's so many Hangouts, for example, that I want to watch and I want to fit in my day, and I can't. They're good content, but, you know, if I had watched all 5 of them, that's 5 hours out of the day that, you know, is gone. So it makes it really easy to watch it when it's only 5 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. And here's what I found happens. The core group of people that originally started watching then share that with their circles, okay? One of the things, and this is a John tip, so it's not in the sacred Google Hall of Fame, I never look at viewers until 2 to 3 days later, and I look on YouTube. Because a lot of times people will say, well, gee, there's only 4 people watching, or there's only 5 people watching. Well, I'm on the Central Time Zone, which means if I do a 9 o'clock 5-minute inspiration, that's 7 o'clock where Melanie is. Now, as much as she loves me, she is not going to drag herself out of bed to listen to me go on for 3 minutes. But when she gets up, has her beverage, gets dressed, gets ready to start her day, oh, I said I was going to attend that, and she'll listen to the replay. And I think people get hung up a lot of times in, I have to have this huge live audience. That's not necessarily so. It's the people that pick it up afterwards that have some real value.
You are so on point, John. I'm glad you said that, because that is a really important message for people to understand, because what I found is a lot of times my Hangouts only had 5 or 6 viewers. And it is hard to get everyone to sit. It's no different than TV. I use Hulu now. I can watch it when I want to. I don't sit down at 7 p.m. on a Monday night because I like the show that much. I can get it on Hulu later. And I found that when I stopped getting all hung up on who was watching my live Hangouts, and I waited about a month. You're very generous, John, with just a few days, but I waited a whole month because I wanted to have a little self-gratification. And there was a trend. And I think it was partly because Hangouts really hit the search engines better than some other forms of communication. And so a lot of people were finding me in searches after the fact. And that was where my exposure came in.
Yeah, I agree.
Another thing, and Melanie does this really well, okay, and I think as people learn Hangouts better, there's a wonderful editing tool in YouTube. And when you get to the 1-hour Hangout and you look at your own Hangout, I've done this with some of mine where I've gone in and edited and taken 5-6 minute clips out of there that think, well, I'm interested in that. Is the viewing public at large interested in listening to that? And it's an area I don't see a lot of hosts taking advantage of. If I can learn how to use the YouTube editing tool, anybody can. Okay, it's not that difficult to use, and it might take you 5 or 10 minutes to take a 1-hour video and chop some stuff off, put a nice title on it, and then I think people become more interested in viewing it. I think, and I'm going to preface this by saying I love Mia Voss half to death, but I think we get in the Mia Voss syndrome. Mia's got 1,000 people that watch her on Friday, and we're thinking, oh my gosh, it says 8 viewers down there. Why does Mia Voss have 1,000 viewers and I only have 8? Well, because I'm not Mia Voss, okay? And that's not my audience, okay? And I think...
Right, and don't try to be Mia Voss.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Be yourself. That's a great point. Boy, I'm so glad you all are on. Yes, we all do. That's why she has 1,000 viewers, because she rocks. It's, gosh, already 9:46, and the hour goes by so fast. I do want to make sure Brian, I was getting to that right now. I'm going to share my screen, and because I want to make sure I do that. And Brian was pretty awesome. He found something called web.archive.org.
Just call it the Wayback Machine. It's easier.
Yeah, the Wayback Machine. So this shows my website, what it looked like in July 2013. And this is when I first started the website, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and so it was just basically it was a aggregate of posts on the front page. And what I learned, and this is when I was just starting out as a solopreneur, and what I learned was that people would go to it and they would see so many choices, they didn't know what to do, because there was all these links on the right, there's these links on the left, and then there's more stuff underneath, and then more stuff underneath. And so when they're faced with so many choices, they just kind of left instead of looking at anything. And I watched a couple of TED Talks since then where they were talking about how many choices people have, and that fewer choices is better, because when faced with just a few, they'll go ahead and choose something, but when it's too many, they get overwhelmed, and oftentimes they just decide not to choose, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then this one was from, February 2015, so this is what it was right before we made the changeover. And in going from this one to this one, I started promoting something more in particular, which was my Blooming Business Club. And this was a welcome video here. It doesn't show the video, but you can see just basically the format is pretty straightforward. And it was fine for a while, but after my experiences in 2014, I decided to refocus and change my website around a bit to have a little more focus on the services that I provide to nonprofits and small business owners. By those services, I mean copywriting and proofing and editing and social media outreach services and graphic design services, because I'm getting more business on that stuff as an outsourced resource, an affordable outsourced resource, versus, you know, a small company doesn't want to hire somebody to be on the payroll to be a graphic designer and do their social media outreach necessarily. So, but they might have the budget to pay somebody a monthly fee to do things that they need done monthly, or to do their graphic design projects for whatever it is they need. And that's a better, more affordable alternative than hiring a new employee on staff. So I wanted my site to be a little more modern too in the design and feel of it, and I found a theme I really liked. It's elegant themes, Divi style, and Brian, because he's a web guy and I'm not, redid it, and here's what it looks like today. So beautiful job, Brian, thank you. And I like this more modern style very much. You can see the focus has changed. Instead of it being sort of a landing page to join my Blooming Business Club, which I still have, I'm not giving that up, but it now is a little more organized as far as, why are you here? Are you a solopreneur in a small business? This is what I can do for you. If you're a nonprofit and public agency, here's what I do for you. And here's my TGIF Business Networking Hangouts. And what is so great about doing these Hangouts? Well, Hangouts, I have to say I recommend them for anybody, because Hangouts put your face in front of people, they get you to know people, they see your smiling face, they give you a chance to show off stuff like this, and they build relationships. So when I put a TGIF Business Networking Hangout post on my website, not only do I put the post up, let me stop my screen share here, but also at the bottom of those posts, I always make sure to put a little blurb that says, hey, would you like to learn how to use Hangouts? You know, hire me, I can give you private lessons or do a workshop for your staff and teach you how to use Hangouts, teach you how to use Hangouts on air. Or if you just want to spend the time being the host and don't want to have to deal with all the behind-the-scenes stuff, because there's a lot of stuff you have to do, then, you know, you can hire me out to facilitate it. I will be a Hangout assistant for hire. So when I make the blog post, I always put a blurb at the bottom that is also some kind of marketing. And these Hangouts are great because I have all these wonderful guests in here, and they get an opportunity to talk and show off their stuff and do some networking. I'm sorry, John, got you right when you were doing this. And it's great. You know, we're forming really awesome relationships here. I've worked with Brian, I've worked with John, I've worked with Annie, and I've had Roxanne on other episodes of my Hangout. She's awesome to have, and I'm super stoked that Kathy came in today because I was a fan of hers from when she was doing hers. And so, you know, it's a business networking mixer, but you don't even have to leave your house or your office to go to it. And I love that. I love that it's a networking mixer beyond local borders, which was the whole reason I started TGIF anyway to begin with, even before it was on air available. So I'm going to go down through my peanut gallery again and give everybody a chance to speak, because we're already at 9:52, and I want to make sure everybody has a chance to get in there and pick up anything they missed. Annie, unmute yourself and give us any of your thoughts that you want to share, any promos that you want to share. What did you think about having a fun open networking mixer? And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I think it's been a great experience since the first time I joined. I'd never even heard of Google Hangouts, and I met you through exactly a way that we've just discussed, by hearing you speak at the American Business Women's Association. That's how I found you and became a Hangout viewer. And now I'm ready to do a Hangout myself, I feel. I think I have this business where I provide designer hospital patient gowns and accessories to people, it's a unique business. Nobody else really has a business like this. There are other people who make designer hospital gowns mostly for maternity, but these are really for men, women, people of all ages. It's something that anybody who's in a convalescent bed-bound situation really appreciates. And through that, and which I got into that because I've had a lot of illness in my family. Many of my family members have been hospitalized. Right now, I'm going through an experience with my mother who's 90 and a half, and it just goes from one thing to the next. She was in assisted living, then she went into memory care, and now she fell, she broke her back. At each stage I go through with her, I learn and I think, I wish I had known that before, because I have so many things that feel like mistakes to me that I would like to share these with the public. And I've hooked up with another woman who owns Comfort Keepers in Rancho Mirage, and she would like to do hangouts with me and also possibly some public speaking. And I'm wondering if anybody has any ideas for us, like, for instance, a venue that we could approach that might be interested in having us speak, or any way that if we started a hangout we could get some attendees.
Well, you heard it, folks. If anybody has any ideas, please go ahead and contact Annie and leave them in the comments under the event listing. And Annie, you're in my Blooming Business Club, and today after the hangout is going to be a consultant is in session. I hold consultant is in sessions twice a month where my members can come in and do a hangout with me, and we can work on whatever it is we're going to work on. And what we're working on with Annie is learning how to use Hangouts and Hangout interface and do Hangouts on air. So we'll be continuing that today, hopefully, if she comes in. So awesome. Yay! Brian, you're next. Unmute yourself and share.
Okay, I'm glad you came back to me because I have to wrap and be on my way by around 10 anyway. So I don't have any questions in particular, but I was happy to be able to share Hangouts on air with Andrea, who's a business banker, because she's definitely into this, and she is into technology to a degree and certainly appreciates all that's new and wonderful in communications. So I'm glad she had a chance to be exposed to this group. I see you're taking copious notes over here, so I know I'm probably going to be in touch with you.
Awesome. Andrea, if you have a profile on Google+, add me to your circle, send me a message, and I will add you to my TGIF circles, and you can come in anytime you like. It's an open networking hangout, so happy to have you come in and join us.
Thank you.
And experience it. And thank you again, Brian, for all the awesome work you did on my website. If anybody is looking to redo their website, it's a WordPress website in particular, and basically it was updating the theme from one theme to another, and there are things that come with that you know, some of the stuff, if you're a WordPress user, you can do, and other stuff I was like, Brian, you know, like the CSS code and all that stuff that is a series of initials and comes with code that I don't want to deal with. Brian did a wonderful job, so I'm giving him thumbs up. Contact Brian if you're looking to redo your site, especially with, tell us, Brian, about the whole mobile-friendly thing now.
Oh, yeah. Well, you all know, I shouldn't say that. I should never start a sentence with that. If you didn't know, Google, I think it was April 14th, they said if you're not mobile-friendly, we might not give you the juice you're looking for to be found. So it's kind of important to have a mobile-friendly website. And, of course, it makes sense because people today are walking around with their phones and they're looking up stuff, especially locally. So if I'm in Palm Desert and I'm trying to find my nearest pet supply store, I'm going to just put it in my Google search and then find websites that are close to me. And if you're not mobile friendly, I might not find you. Bad for business. So you want to be mobile friendly today.
And that was one of the reasons I chose the theme that I chose, because my site was mobile friendly before, but it just looks so much better on mobile now with the current theme than it did before. It's easier to navigate. All right, have a great day, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
And we'll see you next time.
Okay.
John, you're up.
I'm going to unmute myself. Always, it's a pleasure to be here. Just want to echo a couple things you said and a couple things Brian said. If you're going to do a hangout, learn how to do them right and learn how to do them from the credible people who will help you. Okay? Now, there's Melani's one of them. There's 3 or 4 people that helped me in the beginning. Rain Dowell is another one.
Oh, yeah, Rain's awesome.
Andrew Hatchett, okay? Yep. Michael Daniels, okay? And Andrew might yell at you a little bit, okay? But at least he gets his point across, okay? And you don't make that mistake again. But learn how to do them right. And one of the things that I've found helps people be successful is planning. Make sure you plan correctly, because this is live TV. And it's live TV hosted by Google, which means anything can go wrong.
Right.
If you're not prepared and you haven't planned, you're going to lose viewers. And I will tell you, there's people who've invited me to their Hangouts, and I've watched the first 10 minutes, and it was a train wreck. And it's like, hey, I'm not sticking around for this, because I think, and again, you can disagree with me, I think it's disrespectful to your viewing audience if you don't prepare.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I agree. And actually, if anybody is looking for a little help, I have on my business blog at melaniemacdonald.com. You can see it right there in the in the bar. In the business blogs, I have a format guide for Hangout hosts, and it's not. I'm not saying that this is the way to do it, but it's the way that I've done it, and it works for me, and it's a nice base that someone can go and look at and customize to their own selves. And basically, I have an hour show, so I kind of set it up into 4 15-minute segments, and I find that's really helpful in planning. And I start with the first 15 segments being, this is the opening, and this is when everybody gets to introduce themselves and talk about their business and how they got started. And if I have a main guest, this is where we start talking about their background. How did you get started? What led you up to this point to create your own business? And that helps them establish their credibility, establish their expertise, because people are hearing about what their past experience was. And then in the second 15 minutes, we start really talking about the topic of their business and whatever that topic is that helps my audience of small business owners and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs to do their own businesses, because they'll usually be able to relate. Halfway through, I take questions from the audience and from the peanut gallery, or what people call the film strip often. Then the third 15-minute segment is more talk about the main topic and the questions that the featured guest gets to answer. And then the last 15 segments is the outro, and that's what we're doing now, giving everybody a chance to share their final thoughts and say goodbye. And that's great for a couple of different reasons, because A, gives everybody a chance to promote, again, themselves and to network, but B, it's great promotion for the host, because so often during that time people will say, oh, this was such a great hangout, oh, this was awesome. So you get like these little testimonials that, you know, you're just getting kind of naturally and organically, which is really nice. And that's on my list to do, is to go back and edit some of my things and get some of those testimonials out there. Okay, Kathy, you're up.
Here. Sorry, I had to unmute myself. First, I want to thank you again, Melanie, for having this open networking session live. I think it was awesome, and it's reminiscent of the early days when we first started Hangouts, and it was the y'all come. So I love building relationships this way, and I'd like to throw out there to anybody who's watching this that even if you're not ready to be on air, I use Hangouts and recommend using Hangouts for accountability sessions with people that you respect and would like to mimic in some way in their business expertise. So I have a lot of people that I feel are very close friends that I've never met in person that I use Hangouts for on a regular basis. I do have a question, and it's more of a challenge because I haven't really done a lot of research and I haven't answered this yet, but I would like to know if there is a way to have an embed code or a link where it could be put on a website that if someone wanted to talk to me live for an instant hangout, almost like a free consultation session, that I could embed that in a website that someone could click it and instantly have me at their fingertips and call me, because I always use my mobile. And I used to use Helpouts, and Helpouts has since closed. So if anybody has a solution to mimic something like that that I could put on a website and allow someone to have an instant face-to-face consultation, I would love to know how to do that.
I think they do something like that in Android Andrew Hatchett's user-to-user community, don't they, John? They keep like an open hangout, but I don't know how long you can keep an open hangout going.
Okay, you can keep in Google Hangouts. You can keep an open hangout for 24 hours. In Business Hangouts, you can keep an open hangout for up to 6 months, I believe.
Wow, really?
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, you can keep that open indefinitely, but you have to do that in the setup. And what I put in the chat box is if you set up a Bitly, okay, then you can embed that. But when you start a business hangout, it's going to give you the embed code, and that'll be based on how long you want to leave the hangout open. So, Kathy, and this is real rudimentary what I'm saying here, you would create a business hangout and you would go in. And let's say you and Meilani talk for a half hour. You close the hangout out, the live portion, but the hangout remains open for however long you choose to have it open. And when somebody goes in there, you're going to be automatically notified.
Ah, that's
Okay.
what I was missing. I didn't think that was the case with the business hangouts.
Yeah,
Okay.
you will be automatically notified. So then you can see one of the things Andrew and Michael set up is a thing called the emergency room. And if you have a, right, Roxanne? You have a, if you're getting ready to do a hangout and the world comes to an end, you can go into the emergency room, and there are Heather Crafter, Andrew Hatchett, Rain Dow, Michael Daniels, myself, and 2 other people are moderators. So I will get an instant message and an email that says, Meilani McDonald is in the emergency room, okay? So I'll go in, and who's ever available, the only requirement is that if you go in the emergency room, you wait 5 minutes. And if nobody shows up after 5 minutes, then you can leave. But in the early days of it, somebody go in and they, well, nobody's here, I'm leaving. And then all of a sudden you have 4 people come piling in.
Right, you got to
5
give them
minutes.
a chance to get the notice
Yeah.
and get in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the way you can do that. And you know, here's what I would suggest, just like with regular Hangouts, play around with business Hangouts.
I've used business hangouts in the early days, and I just haven't. I didn't find a need for it at the time because I wasn't using such a large live audience back when that was the primary use of business hangouts. So I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about business Hangouts is that when you send an invite out, you know who responds. You get an email back.
And I'm going to say to anybody out there who wants to learn more about that, come on in after. But we're running a little bit late, so I want to go ahead and get on to Roxanne. Roxanne, unmute yourself and share.
Well, I do want to say that thank you to Kathy because she did, I watched her first Hangouts, and she did notice November for epilepsy awareness and wore purple and mentioned it in Twitter, and thank you. You remember that now? And John, he's great for helping me when he wrote a letter, and oh man, he had to correct everything for me because my vocabulary is horrible because of my epilepsy is just where that scar is. It's awful. So he helped me correcting one of my letters. Oh man. So you can go, well, I don't know if he wants me to say anything if you have too many people go to him, but he's wonderful at that. So thank y'all for that. And I am just now going to start interviewing people. Thank goodness my computer is working. I got a new one, so that's why my Hangouts, I think, will be a whole lot better. And if you join the people at the business Hangout, they're crazy. So they're nice, very helpful, and yeah, you'll just have to get to know each of their personalities. That's why I was laughing the whole time that John was talking to.
Yeah, there are some really awesome personalities in there. I love them. But they make it fun. They make the learning fun. And I want to say thank you, Annie and Brian and John and Kathy and Roxanne. Thank you all so much for joining us inside the Open Networking Business Hangout today. It was a lot of fun, and I loved all the topics of discussion that came up. And anybody out there who wants to come in, This is an open networking hangout. Even when I have a featured guest, I still invite other people in to share their experiences, ask the guests their questions, learn about what they want to learn about. So please keep that in mind. Before I say goodbye and promo the next show, I want to go hit on one thing that Kathy said that I think is really great. And she said, you know, before you even do Hangouts on air, just do Hangouts and have an accountability partner. And those are really wonderful. You know, there were a couple of ladies that are really awesome. Hi, Janice. Hi, Cindy. That they and I used to do a weekly hangout, get together. We were working on a business thing, and then after we stopped working on the business thing, we did it anyway, just to kind of catch up and say, hey, what did you do this week and what's going on? And it's really awesome to kind of share that experience. It's really motivational, it's inspirational, it's sort of a little rah-rah session, and it helps you really go into the next week and do your thing. And if you have any questions, you know, it's, hey, did you ever come across this and how did you deal with it? So it's awesome to have that kind of a community. And for any of the members out there of the Blooming Business community, I really encourage you to use the Blooming Business community to do that kind of networking and activity and schedule hangouts and stuff. So that's it. What a great idea that is. And the next TGIF Business Networking Hangout is going to be on Friday, June 5th, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Hangouts are held on the first and third Fridays monthly. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.